Hi, I'm Michael Choi. I'm an examiner with the United States Imperial Society of Teachers of Dancing. I'd like to talk to you today about line of dance, or LOD for short. We can think of line of dance in one of two ways, either as a concept of floorcraft, which is the skill and practice of how one navigates the dance floor, or we can think of it as a way to talk about alignment or direction, which is how we talk about orientation in relation to the room. For now, let's talk about line of dance as it relates to floorcraft. So here's your ballroom. Let's divide it equally with an imaginary line along its length. This is the center line. We'll leave enough room on each end for a width equal to the width of each half. Think of it as a racetrack with the traffic flowing counterclockwise. This way we know where the traffic is going. These will be our long sides. And these will be our short sides. Back to our ballroom. We'll start the movement going around the ballroom until we get all the way around to where we started. Then we'll start again. You could start moving down the floor and then cut in diagonally and then back out diagonally to the wall. Then go to the end of the room. When you get there, you're going to need to start moving along the short wall. You can zig and zag as you like, so long as the traffic goes along that racetrack. Just don't cross the proverbial infield. That's a no-no. It's basically like driving into oncoming traffic, which is bad. You can go wherever you like with those zigs and zags and occasional straight lines, as long as you don't cut across the center. Let's say you don't have a normal rectangle for a ballroom. You might have a square. In this case, you don't have a long side and a short side, but you do want to keep moving counterclockwise with the flow of your movement. Try not to spend too much time in the center of the floor. There's a good bet someone else will be coming through there fairly soon. So keep your head up. You could also end up with a really long, skinny ballroom. There's really only one long side in such a case, so people may be coming down the floor in both directions because they'll likely need space to execute certain figures. Now, not every figure goes neatly down the floor in a straight line. In fact, few do. While not desirable, if you're teaching or practicing, it's generally not a problem to cut across the floor of a narrow ballroom, because others will be aware that you need to move crossways to practice certain elements. But if you're dancing at a social, be considerate of the line of dance, and try not to cross over too often. If at all. It's much safer that way. It's also safer if you keep your head up. No, seriously, keep your head up. And remember, it's never too late to say you're sorry. If you do bump into someone, just say you're sorry so they know it wasn't intentional, even if it was. Now let's look at line of dance as a concept of alignment or direction. If you're standing on this side of the ballroom, this would be your line of dance, because that's where you're going. And here, you're going over there. And if you're over here, this would be it. You get the picture. So let's say you're on the short side. If you're facing down the direction you're heading, line of dance, then the side of the dance floor will be to your right, and that infield where the center line is will be to your left. We have 4 cardinal directions: line of dance, wall, center, and against the line of dance. And here's what it would look like if you're along one of the long sides. This next figure shows you where your cardinal directions would be, depending on which part of the floor you've placed yourself. Our secondary directions are called diagonally to center, diagonally to wall, diagonally to center against the line of dance, and diagonally to wall against the line of dance. Lastly, we need to talk about the difference between alignments and directions. The directions, as we've already covered, are those points related to where we are in the room and our chosen line of dance. Alignments have another relational component, and to show that, I'm going to need my friend Skeleton Fred. Hey Skeleton Fred, where are you? Oh, there's a wall. And that must be the center. So that means that this must be the line of dance, in which case Skeleton Fred would be facing the line of dance. When we talk about alignments, we always say what our relationship is to the direction. Skeleton Fred could be in exactly the same position, and be said to be backing against the line of dance. The only way you'll know is context. But don't get too hung up on that, unless you're studying for an exam. Okay, make a quarter turn to the left, Skeleton Fred. You have your wall over there, and the center over there. So that means that line of dance is over there. But Skeleton Fred isn't facing line of dance anymore. We would call this facing center or backing wall. Again, you'd need the context of where he's going next to figure that out. Understanding line of dance is essential to having a better directional sense as a ballroom dancer, and for long-term technical development. I hope you found this video helpful. Be on the lookout for more technique explainers in the coming weeks.